Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Briggs. I'm a Payload Operations Director, which is a pod here at Marshall, and I'm going to give you an overview about our Artemis support plan. So you can go to the next slide, please. So as Kelsey said, with respect to lunar science, we have a role at PMOD as an ops agent for payloads. We're responsible for the IVA utilization and the science prep of EVA payloads. We do not have a role in the EVA payloads itself. That's between EVA and the science position. We have a role if any configuration or preparation is needed before their EVA. And we also have a role in the ops for post-deployment. Once the crew leaves, some of these payloads will still be working, so we have a role there. And in addition, for all the payloads that are in transit, there's a gateway element. The payloads in Orion and payloads in HLS, we do have a role there as well. If you look to our right, we have a few positions named here. I already mentioned the pod. We had a lot of fun creating some of these. If you notice, we went through different schemes. We have a Vader position. If you're familiar with ISS, it's sort of like our DMC position. They're the Video and Data Resource Officer. We have a Spark position. When you think power, when you think Spark, similar to our Pro position for ISS. The Atlas position, they're the timeline and logistics admin specialists. So they are doing the role of the TCO and our stowage role combined. And then we have the Phoenix position, which is the human ops and engineering integration expert, similar to an OC and Paycom in the ISS world and combined. I didn't spell out the magic, and I'm colorblind, but I think I put it as a wrong color there, so I apologize for that. But that's our DOCR position, similar to our Marshall GC now, and that's my favorite acronym out of this list. So we support from the HOSC, and I have a slide later to go over what the HOSC services provide, but we provide services everywhere throughout the world. Can you next slide, please? Okay, so beginning with Artemis 2, we will be an ops agent for HRP and BPS payloads. We're responsible for the integration of those ops and execution of those ops, meaning timeline inputs, procedures, those types of things. And we will be supporting from the LUCA and the DOCR. If you don't know what the DOCR is, that's the Data and Operations Control Center in the HOSC. The LUCA is pictured to the right. We can change the colors. It's not always blue. Those overhead lights are configurable. It stands for the Lunar Utilization Control Area. And this is where we will support for Artemis 2 and forward. There's also a picture below of the LISA. That is not for payload support, but I'll go into that a little later. The LISA is where the MIST and SBS engineering team will support from. And it looks very similar. I apologize for the audio, or sorry, the video quality or image quality there, because I took that with the phone. I just needed something to show you what it is. Those two rooms are side by side at the HOSC. For Artemis 3, IVA payloads, similar to Artemis 2, HRP and BPS. And for the EVA, the deployed instrument payloads, the Allure, LEMS, LEAF, LDA, we do have an ops integration role, and we're collaborating between the science team and FOD and EVA for those roles. And so we will support the payloads throughout the entire life cycle, from launch through post-deployment. And again, we mentioned the LUCA, the LISA, you see the two rooms there, and the DOCR. That is where right now they support multiple missions from the DOCR, the ISS. There's some small satellite support, and that is just the downstairs room at the HOSC that supports those missions. Next slide, please. This really isn't a backup slide. I told you don't do backup slides, so apologies for that. So you go to the next one. So just some information on the HOSC that it currently supports multiple missions, 24/7, 365. The programs we support ISS. We're also a BCC for FOD for ISS. We have SLS engineering support. We support the commercial crew program, and we will be supporting Gateway. So we also have 5 configurable control rooms at the HOSC. If you know anything with ISS, you know we support ISS and PCA1. That is not a configurable control room, but there are 5 that we can change the mission profile and support no matter what it is. The 2 that I mentioned, LISA and LUCA, are configurable. So if we need overrun, for future ops, we can configure other rooms to support those missions. And I added some pictures in there. Again, you have on the bottom right is the Luca, and then we have the ISS mission, but we tried taking some pictures of all the control rooms to show you what they look like. Next slide, please. So if I mentioned the position, I probably didn't go too much into detail about what they do. So I added this slide to show who we're interfacing with and how it relates to ISS. It looks a little busy, but I think this kind of spells out what are we interfacing for, who are we interfacing with, and how it relates to ISS. And I broke it down by our organizational structure on the left. I don't really need to speak to this, I don't think, but I think it just helps show how we're evolving from an ISS model to the Artemis model for support. And that's all I had, just a few slides. I finished early.